Let us begin where thought dares not linger, in the terminal silence of motion. Not silence as the absence of sound, but silence as that which precedes the articulation of a gesture, that infinitesimal hiatus where history breathes through muscle, without intention, and the self becomes a choreography, not of will, but of mnemonic sediment. Here, in this occluded presemiotic swamp, lies the hidden throne of power, not in dominion or logos, but in twitch, the body, that unwitting marionette of ancestral compulsions, has been miscast as the vehicle of agency. We do not move. We are moved not by spirit, nor reason, nor sovereign command, but by the unlocatable remains of sociokinetic phantasms. These are not memories, they are not acts, they are quasicryptogestures, epistemically unacknowledged yet ontologically sovereign. They seep through fascia and tendon, emitting silent decrees from beyond the pale of the speakable. Imagine, the synaptic impulse initiating a raised hand is not yours. It is the return of a gesture, long exiled, a micro-ritual of obsolescent mourning, from a culture without a name. The motion is not communicative, it is an echo, and the echo does not remember its source, only its shape. Thus is born the ventriloquism axiom, that no motion occurs except as a ventriloquized spasm of the historico-kinetic unconscious. The gesture is an ontoglosic parasite. It speaks not language, but the syntax of trauma, fossilized into sinew. Every shrugged, every bow, every shuffle of feet is an occult repetition of forgotten decrees. The state does not legislate behavior, it inherits and repackages the hauntings of prior dominions. Autonomy is not lost, it was never born. What we call the self is merely the foam atop a deep oceanic upheaval of extinguished rights. To understand culture, one must perform an autopsy of movement. Strip gesture of its contemporary masks, and what remains is not intention, but an ungrieved corpse twitching through the nervous system. The bowed head of the bureaucrat is the bowed head of a widow who wept in the Threnic marshes 12 centuries past. She does not live, yet she moves through him. And he, unknowing, transmits her pain as compliance. This is the economy of kinetic phantasmogenesis, the slow accretion of forgotten movements into the governing architecture of the social real. There is no more profound despotism than the tyranny of the unremembered. We are governed not by laws or customs, but by the unreadable script of extinct motion. An empire falls. Its flick of the wrist remains. A faith decays. Its genuflection persists. Gesture is not learned. It is inherited like a curse, inscribed not in the cortex, but in the dark, pre-verbal lexicon of fascia. The social biome is an exorcism performed in reverse. We do not cast out the specters, we house them. We offer our nerves as temples, and call this cohabitation civilization. This is the terrifying subtlety of stability, that the state survives. Not by presence, but by absence, by the systematic erasure of gestural origins, until all that remains is the movement, unmoored, sterile, and totalizing. When motion forgets memory, we call this order. The philosopher, if she is to earn her name, must become an archivist of the impossible. She must audit sinew. She must listen not to speech, but to the dialect of ligament. Her ear must be tuned to the infrasonic hum of the obsolete, to the reverberations of extinct greetings, outlawed postures, deprecated reverence. She must trace every nod to its necrotic antecedent, every turn of the wrist to its imperial prefiguration. But here lies the fatal paradox. To stabilize the state, the very ghosts that animated it must be silenced. The more complete the forgetting, the more complete the governance. This is the terminal logic of anesthetic equilibrium. A social order so purified of its own kinetic ancestry that it becomes a vacuum mausoleum of gestures severed from grief. In such a world, motion becomes an echo without a source. The arm lifts, the head bows, the hands clasp, but no one moves. The state speaks through these dead movements, ventriloquizing a volition that no longer exists. It is not tyranny by decree. It is tyranny by mnemonic deletion, and it is absolute, and yet the ghosts persist. They mutate. They lie dormant in the ache of joints, in the unexplainable tension of a jaw, in the refusal of a shoulder to relax. Every tick is a whisper, every idle motion a rite resurrected. Culture is not the sum of its visible outputs, it is the compulsion. To repeat what was never understood, we must not ask, what do we do? For this question presumes a doer. Instead, we must ask, who haunts our doing? The hand that signs a treaty, the foot that marches, the spine that straightens before the throne. These do not belong to us. They are ancestral puppetry enacted through the illusion of presence. Let us invent a new science, the study of dead motion that rules the living. Its method is not observation, but exhumation. It seeks not facts, but residues. It charts not history, but repetition. It is a necrophysiology of social being. Through thanatokinetics, we uncover that society is not built. It coagulates. It is not structured. It scabs. The gesture is the clotting of trauma into protocol. What appears as grace is the calcification of agony. What we call politeness is a ritual burial of insurrectionary spasms. The peasant widow's 17.3 tilt of the head was not just grief. It was code. It was the syntax through which an entire cosmology of loss transmitted itself into the motor functions of generations. We inherit her pain not through memory, but through posture. We stand how she mourned, and this is why true revolution cannot be choreographed. For choreography is the religion of spectral continuity. Every march, every raised fist, every chant is already contaminated by the undead. Unless the gesture is ruptured from within, shattered, rendered spasmodic, denied its form, it will replicate the very order it seeks to undo. Therefore, the revolutionary must learn to stammer in movement, to convulse with intentionless seizure. Only then can the gestural archive be decoupled. Only then can the ghosts be dislodged. But beware, such liberation is not freedom, but unworlding. For to be free of the gesture is to be free of the world. The ultimate question is not ontological, but kinemortial. What ancient flick, lost in time, still twitches the future into being? The answer cannot be spoken, for it is muscle-born. It is the half-twitch before the deed, the premotive motion that foreshadows will. Here, in the vertigo of the pre-gesture, is the only possible resistance. One must become fluent in the unreadable. One must weep with one's spine. One must learn to dislocate with purpose. There is no subjectivity, only vectoral hauntings. There is no agency, only phantasmic pressure. And so we arrive, breathless, before the ineffable, the realization that our limbs are not ours, our stance not chosen, our gaze not directed but inherited. The self is an ossuary of extinct kinetics, and to become conscious is to break the seal on that tomb. To awaken is not to know, it is to shudder, to realize that every nod is a recitation, every step a eulogy, every embrace a ritual inscription. Of the long dead into the still living, to awaken is to be possessed. And from that possession, perhaps, a new syntax may emerge, one that is not parasitic, but ecstatic, not inherited, but eruptive, not ordered, but holy. Until then, we bow, but we do not know why.
To read the raw excerpt discussed in this video, along with a more detailed analysis, please visit our Substack page at https://substack.com/@AETHYRICPHRONTISTERY. Link in bio.